Support for Mission Nonprofit is provided by Thurston Talk.
Hi, I'm Robert Kim, and you're watching Mission Nonprofit. Each month, we connect with local organizations and agencies that are making a positive impact in our communities. We've invited Mindy Ruley from the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound to talk about their work. Thanks for joining us, Mindy.
Thank you for having me.
Now tell us a little bit about the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound. When were you founded?
Well, we've been around since 1989. We were founded out of a community visioning project called Olympia 2010. And we were a response to the question, how are we going to fund emerging needs and opportunities in our community over time? And that's when the Community Foundation was born. We're meant to be a permanent source of funds for this community and this place. And that allows us to be able to respond to emerging community needs and opportunities over time.
Tell me a little bit about how the process works.
Well, we have two main goals. We build and manage charitable funds, and we make grants and scholarships into the community. And so the way that works is we work with donors, we work with individuals, businesses, families, nonprofit organizations who establish funds or give to existing funds at the Community Foundation. We manage and steward those charitable funds, and then we make grants and scholarships into the community. So since our founding in 1989, we've grown to manage 115 funds and $40 million in assets.
Now, you mentioned scholarships. These are like college scholarships for people?
Yeah, so one of the types of funds we manage is scholarships, where we help fund students to attend higher education.
Okay, all right. Are there certain different scholarships that people might, qualify for? Is it all academic based, or are there, I don't know.
Well, each scholarship has a different criteria. Usually the scholarships we manage are for graduating seniors, and they're usually broader than any one institution. So if a donor wanted to fund a scholarship at South Puget Sound Community College, we would send them over there. But all our scholarships might be for a graduating senior at North Thurston who's going to study nursing, for example. So kind of broad scholarships with specific criteria.
Gotcha, okay. And how do they find out about those scholarships? Is that through your website?
Yep,
okay.
Our website.
All right. And this is a national group. There's community foundations all across the country, right?
We're not connected to any one national group. There are about 800 community foundations across the country, all focused on a particular place or community. And so we're one of them, but we're not, there's no national membership association at the top.
Well, there's this short little video about community foundations explaining what they are. Why don't we take a look at that, and we'll come back and talk more.
Even when you were little, you dreamed big. Maybe you had visions of the good you do in the world, how you might change your community. Now you have the means, but there are so many worthy causes in need of help. Where do you start? Your community foundation has the answer. It's local and dedicated to improving the community where you live. Here's how it works. You can start your own fund by giving cash, stock, real estate, or other assets. If you wish, your community foundation will help you match your interests in the arts, education, economic development, or other causes with charities that share your passion. Plus, you can decide whether you want to give now or later. Community foundations offer tax advantages and personalized services that create a seamless giving process for you. They'll work with you or your professional advisor. It's your choice. And as your giving helps to better your community, everyone benefits, now and in the future. Community foundations help you on your path to personal philanthropy, making it easier for you to do good. So when you're ready to give, visit your community foundation. Together, we can create something special that will last forever.
Welcome back to Mission Nonprofit. Our guest this month is the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound. And with me is Mindy Ruley. Mindy, how is the Community Foundation different from other foundations like the Gates Foundation?
Well, we're different in a couple of ways. First, we are for this community. So the Community Foundation's geography is Thurston, Mason, and Lewis County. And so our whole purpose is to hold and steward charitable resources for the betterment of this community. And we mean community really broadly. We give, I'll talk about this, but we give to arts, the environment, basic needs, all sorts of things. And another way we're different from other types of foundations is the Community Foundation is made up of many donors. We manage about 115 charitable funds and $40 million in assets. But those don't come from just one donor. Those come from lots and lots of people who care about this place and this community. And actually,
trailing off of that question, you actually do have a donation from the Gates Foundation, isn't that right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, we've been a grantee of the Gates Foundation since about 2013, and they have invested in us to work in our community to address intergenerational poverty.
Okay, so their donation is earmarked for certain causes. Can people do that when they donate? Can they be like, I want this money to go here, and they can earmark those funds?
Yeah, it's one of the beauties of the Community Foundation is we have many different ways that people can give, but we do work with donors to help them identify their charitable goals or their charitable purposes, and we might set, we might work with a donor to establish criteria for what they want to give to in the community.
And things have changed since you were founded. What was it, 1996?
1989.
Oh my goodness, 1989. And it changed because you first were kind of a branch of the Tacoma Community Foundation. And where did it go from there?
Well, yes, in the earliest days, we were a fund at the Greater Tacoma Community Foundation, and as we grew, we became our own independent organization. And since then, as we've grown from a tiny little organization with no assets to an organization with $40 million in assets, we've expanded our reach. We've been able to work with more donors and work with more nonprofits and increase the amount of funds that we're able to give out in the community each year.
And now you have 3 counties, right?
Yeah.
3 counties, Thurston, Mason, and
Lewis.
Lewis?
Yep.
Excellent.
That was a decision pretty early on in the early 90s. We were established as the Thurston County Community Foundation, and in the early 1990s, our board of directors voted to expand our geography to also include Mason and Lewis counties because there weren't community foundations there.
All right. Now, you manage different types of funds. Can you tell us about those funds?
Sure. So we offer flexible giving options, and we have different ways that donors can be involved with the Community Foundation. One kind of fund is an unrestricted fund. And so in that, the donor is saying, we leave it up to the Community Foundation staff and board to determine the greatest charitable need at the time. And that need may change over time. That's the beauty of our permanency, as we can adapt to evolving needs and opportunities in the community over years and generations. Another type of fund is a field of interest fund. So a donor might leave a gift to a fund for the environment or a fund for youth. Last year we raised a lot of funds for our COVID-19 response fund. We also have donor-advised funds where a donor stays involved in recommending grants from the fund. We have scholarship funds that help fund higher education. And another type of fund we have is agency funds, and that's where we hold the endowment for another nonprofit organization.
And then the nonprofits and organizations you fund, how do they get involved? How do they come to you, and where does it go from there?
Well, most nonprofits get involved with us through our open competitive grants process, our community grants program.
Right.
So each year we give out about $400,000 through that grants program, and we get about 100 or 120 applications a year. This year we involved 45 community members as evaluators in reviewing those grant applications. So we have a really broad set of criteria. We're looking to fund organizations that contribute to the overall health and well-being of the community, organizations that listen to and kind of create solutions with the populations they serve and collaborate with others. And so we set those broad criteria and we ask our community evaluators to review those grants. So we're actually just doing that this week. We'll wrap it up this week. And at the end of that, we'll select probably about 75 or 80 nonprofits to make grants to. And so, like I said, we fund a whole bunch of things that contribute to the health and well-being of our community.
Okay, and then how do these nonprofits find these grants or get information about them?
Well, the best place to find out is on our website, thecommunityfoundation.com. We have a section that lists our grants and instructions for how to apply.
Okay, cool. And then are they members of you? And like, I think, do you have a newsletter? Do you have like emails that go out to a group of nonprofit organizations, things like that?
We do have an email newsletter, and it's a broad audience. So it's nonprofits, donors, community members,
Okay.
and a lot of people find out about our grant programs from that email newsletter. But there's not membership in
Okay.
the Community Foundation.
All right, but there is signing up for information.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they can, nonprofits can go to your website, sign up for your newsletter
Yep.
and things like that.
Yep, that's a good way to get more information about us and find out about those grant opportunities.
And I'm sure donors go to your website for the same reason, to find out maybe do you have like a way that they can dedicate their funds to specific causes? Do you have certain, pools of money for this, topic and this issue and that?
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways that we work with donors. One way, as I talked about, is kind of helping them find which kind of fund might be right for them across the different kinds of funds that I talked about. Also, donors can give to an existing fund. So a donor could, if a donor doesn't know what they want to support, they could give to our Community Grants Fund or another fund that kind of supports a cause they care about. Another way we work with donors, though, is helping them figure out how to give. A lot of donors give cash, but we're also finding a trend that more donors are giving different types of assets. So that might be appreciated stocks and securities. If a donor is 70 and a half or older, they might give a qualified charitable distribution from their IRA. So we're working with donors to find a way to give that makes the most sense for them. One other thing I would say about how we work with donors is we're finding more and more donors are interested in talking about making a gift in their will when they pass away. And so then they're leaving a gift to the Community Foundation to steward for this community after they've passed away.
Can they leave things like real estate, their house, stuff like that?
Yes, yep, we do work with donors to give other types of assets as well.
Vehicles, maybe?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Give Local campaign. So what is the Give Local campaign? I know it's not always been around. When did you start that? And give us a little background about that.
Well, we started Give Local 5 years ago. And at first, it was a small invite-only project that raised about $125,000. And now, 5 years later, we've raised more than $1.3 million for local charities.
Nice.
We started it because we wanted to promote local philanthropy. We believe that nonprofits are doing such good work in this community, but we wanted to have a way to kind of help more people learn about nonprofits, and we wanted to encourage a spirit of community philanthropy within our community. One thing that we're seeing, there was a study done by the Lilly School of Philanthropy at Indiana University, and it showed that since the Great Recession, household giving is declining. So in 2018, only about 50% of households made a gift to charity. And so we wanted to find a way to help encourage people to give back. And we also wanted to encourage people to give locally. Giving locally matters because you're giving to organizations that are addressing issues and solving problems and caring for people right here in our community. And you're also then supporting the employment of people who are working right here in our community. So we wanted to help communicate that local impact matters and that giving matters.
Now, are those Give Local funds, I mean, I guess they're not earmarked for anything. They're just because you always help out local agencies and organizations. So they can't go wrong. If they want to support the community, they give to you and you support the community.
Yes.
You don't send your money out to Washington, D.C. or anywhere else.
Yeah, so here's how it works. If you go onto the Give Local website, this year there will be about 90 nonprofit organizations. And so a donor can look through those organizations and choose one that is working on a cause they care about. And so donors can choose which cause or which nonprofit they want to support. So the Community Foundation hosts the whole platform, and it's at spsgives.org. So you can go on to spsgives.org, browse nonprofits, find 1 or 2 or 10 that you care about, and make an online donation. And then after that, there's also, we raise a $100,000 proportional match. So that's to help encourage giving. So if a nonprofit that you care about raises 2% of everything raised during Give Local, then they'll also get 2% of that bonus fund, or that $100,000. So it's just another reason to give and to stretch your dollar a little bit further.
Oh, nice. Yeah, get some matching funds in there. And then where does the fund for the matching funds, that's just from your general donations that you have throughout the year? Is that where it comes from?
We work with another local donor, the Dawkins Charitable Trust, and they, for the past 4 years, have contributed that $100,000 bonus fund. We also work with a variety of local businesses to sponsor Give Local. That covers our costs so that we can put on the program. So those sponsors, when you give through Give Local, you don't get charged that 2% credit card fee and other platform fees, and that's because our sponsors cover that. So Olympia Federal Savings, Washington State Employees Credit Union, Union Bank, the Chehalis Tribe, Puget Sound Energy, the Olympia Yacht Club, Thurston and Lewis Talk, Van Scherol Consulting. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone, but all of those businesses support the Community Foundation's efforts to put on Give Local so that we can offer that benefit to the entire community.
So it sounds like if I went through your website and I donated to Thurston Community Media because I care about local media and we're a nonprofit, then my money would go further than it would just donating to Thurston Community Media on my own.
That's right, because it's stretched by that bonus fund during those 2 weeks of Give Local. So that bonus fund takes place just from November 8th through November 19th. Okay,
so they need to do that now.
Yes, yes. And I will say that always your giving matters, and your dollar is spent well when you're supporting nonprofits locally. But there's just that even little extra incentive during those 2 weeks of Give Local.
And not just because of the matching grant, but also because of the credit card fees that don't get charged and other things like that. Well, those are compensated by your sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
Nice. And then after your Give Local, those 2 weeks are up, then there's Giving Tuesday, right? And that's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, also a good time to give. Are there any incentives or bonuses for giving on that day?
Well, the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound doesn't have an incentive on Giving Tuesday, but there are lots of national incentives. So that is another day that encourages charitable giving and draws a lot of national attention to giving. I think it's Facebook that sometimes has a really wonderful match on Giving Tuesday. So that's another great day to give, and just another day that we encourage people to give generously to nonprofits. We don't officially kind of Give Local and Giving Tuesday don't overlap, but they're they sort of both kick off the giving season.
Gotcha.
Some nonprofits actually raise more than half of their dollars in the last quarter of the year because so many people choose to do their charitable giving at the end of the year.
You yourself need money to operate. So how do people donate to the Community Foundation to benefit your mission?
Good question. Well, we also participate in Give Local. So we are one of those 90 nonprofits that's participating in Give Local. And you can go to our website and make a donation. But we do operate on the charitable support of others. And so we appreciate those donations any time of year. And I would say if you care about the things that we're doing, like promoting local giving and strengthening the entire nonprofit sector, then the Community Foundation is a good place place to spend your charitable dollars.
So as they're going through and they're donating to their favorite nonprofits, they should donate to you too, to keep you operational and keep doing the good work that you do.
That's right. That's right.
Do you have any advice for people on how to give?
Ooh, good question. I do, but the one thing that I like to tell people is that there's no right answer, right? There are so many nonprofits doing really important work in our community. When you give, there are nonprofits working on food, shelter, arts, the environment, education, and so it's really important that you think about what you care about and what causes matter to you in the community. But you can't go wrong. Another thing that I like to tell donors is to make sure that your gift is unrestricted, right? So when you give a gift that is unrestricted, you're giving the nonprofit the flexibility to use it how it's most needed. Now, if anything, the pandemic showed us that flexible dollars are important because nonprofits had to change direction and move programming online, and so having flexible dollars gives nonprofit leaders the ability to direct those dollars where they're needed most for their organization at that moment in time. And the third thing I would say, which we've already talked about, is to give locally, that your dollars matter when you give locally because you're giving to nonprofits that are addressing issues and challenges right here in our own community.
Okay, and you talked about non-restrictive funds, but you're still able to give a specific nonprofit that you care about.
My advice is don't say it may only be used for this purpose. Give the gift and leave it to the nonprofit organization to decide what's most needed for their organization and for the community that they're serving.
What if I don't have any money to give? What's your advice there?
Good question. Another way people can give back to the community is by volunteering their time.
Okay.
During the pandemic, many people, maybe especially vulnerable people, decided to stop volunteering and shelter in place. So if you're vaccinated especially, I would strongly encourage you to volunteer at a nonprofit. Nonprofits need help staffing vaccination clinics, delivering food to homebound seniors, caring for pets. When we're able to, again, reading to children, there are all kinds of opportunities to volunteer. So if you can't give, maybe consider getting involved in a nonprofit organization that has a volunteer opportunity.
Does the Community Foundation of South Puget Sound have volunteer opportunities?
We do. One of
right.
the best ways you can volunteer with us is by signing up to review our grants and scholarships. Every year we work with about 50 community members as volunteer evaluators to read our nonprofit grants and evaluate those and make funding recommendations.
Well, what kind of special skills do you need to do that?
Well, we're looking for people who have a whole variety of backgrounds and community experiences. We want a really broad and diverse set of community members to be looking at these grant applications.
Because really, if somebody has the skills in construction, maybe they could help you evaluate grants for, I don't know, for
Housing.
Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah. So we really are looking for people who have a variety of different experiences because we believe that variety and that diversity helps us make better decisions as a group.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think I just like people to know that giving matters and giving locally matters. And I hope that everyone watching today will make a gift to a cause or a charity that they care about. And if they have questions or if they want to think about giving through their will or in a different way, that they'll contact the Community Foundation and we'd be happy to answer questions and help with that process.
Okay, tell us your website. Is it?
You can visit us at thecommunityfoundation.com.
.com. Okay, good. And then do you have other ways for people to contact you? Maybe, I don't know, social media, things like that?
Yep, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and also by phone.
All right. How about a phone number?
360-705-3340.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us on this show, Mindy. That's all we have for you. Please visit their website at thecommunityfoundation.com. You can also find them on Facebook at Community Foundation of South Puget Sound and on Instagram and Twitter at TCFSPS. See you next time.
Support for Mission Nonprofit is provided by Thurston Talk.